All right, we're gonna go over putting a headliner in this 1971 Chevy Nova. I got the old headliner pulled out of it. Got kind of a metal shell going on up there. And then I've already taken the bows, you can kind of see them there. These have already been sanded and painted. So you want those fairly smooth. They were pretty rusty before. So you're gonna be sliding and pulling the headliner listing across, so you want those to be sliding pretty good. All right, I got the headliner laid out here on the ground. It's just laying in the driveway. It was getting some sun earlier, kind of get it heated up a little bit to relax it after being in the packaging so long. But when we look at it here, the wind keeps kind of blowing it around. But there's the front of it right there. You can see where it tapers back in the corners. So that's going to be the front. And then it might be hard to tell in the video, but it is slightly wider in the back. This back portion where I'm standing now, and you can see where it's pretty much squared off back here on the back side, and it does taper and get a little skinnier toward the front. So that's kind of how you know front versus back. See where the corners are cut back for where the windshield kind of curves around. All right, we got to pull these clips out of here because I got new ones. So all these plastic clips are about brittle as can be. So I'm gonna come in here and take these out. Let's see how they come out. Looks like these just kind of twist in there. So I'm just gonna grab a hold, twist it. There it is. That's how the front and backs come out. They just quarter turn. I'll get that back one out of there now. The weather's pretty good right now, so it's not too bad to be in here. There it is, same thing. Just a quarter turn. Kind of wanted to just go one way. And you can see the little wire clip goes toward the back. There it is. Probably don't even need the pliers. I'll be able to do it by hand. Fell right out of there. Alright, I got this hanging in there. There it is. There it is, and last one. That one you can see broke the front clip where the wire was. So the wire is all the way toward the front on these clips. So I got all these clips, I'll pick them up, throw them away, and I'll go get new ones and get ready to pop them all in there. Alright, here's the new clips. Got these from Restoration World. Luckily I'm located real close to Restoration World. I don't know if you can focus on that, but there's the 4 main bow clips, and then these are the 6, they're individually sold center bow line clips. So let's get these installed. Alright, seems best to maybe grab it with pliers and then just give it a quarter turn right in there. Grab the next one. We'll come back to the next bow location, and then I believe that runs right across there. I'm kind of lining it up with these holes over here. That's where the bow goes in, so you kind of walk it back and line it up. All right, we'll do the 2 in the front. Alright, what I'm doing first before I get all these clipped in is I'm taking the dome light apart. So what you do is take these little clips where it holds the light bulb, and then you just press them out. I already use a screwdriver to kind of loosen them up. So then the wires will just be hanging with the little connectors there. So then we can just set this off to the side, and then I'll finish feeding it in there. Alright, there we go. The wire running again. So dome light wires up there. Got all our clips in. So now we're ready to start sliding the bows into the headliner. Alright, when you take these bows out, you're going to want to count them, make sure you keep them in order. So I got the first one up here in the front, second, third, fourth, fifth. So keep them in order, don't get them out of order because they're bent slightly different. Alright, now what we got to do is we got to slide this rod inside of this listing. So this is number 1 here. I'll get it started and I'll show you. That's got a little pocket it opens up. There we go. See it slide in the pocket, and they leave enough sew allowance there so the width of that bent end can get through there. So now just slide it all the way through. All right, now the wire's in there, the first bow's in there, and you can see we're going to cut back some of this listing so we can see the wire. So I've got it pretty much centered up in there. Might need to come this way just a little bit. I'm gonna get scissors, I'm gonna slit that back so we can see the ends of it. All right, there we go. Let's come down here and look. We just splayed this open, and then we got the headliner rod sticking out there, and we got sticking out down here on this end. So kind of where the sharp bend starts to end, that's where I kind of cut it back to. All right, here's the second bow's in. Just did the exact same process. You can see I got it splayed back right where it bends. It's pretty much centered up. So now we got two of them in. So now we'll do the center one, it's just straight, and then we'll get the last two in. Same thing, just keep repeating. Okay, with this one, I figured I could just lay the rod next to the listing and then center it up, and then I can splay back what I need before I shove the rod in there, and it should be ready to go. So just get it in the center of the material and then cut that back. All right, there we go. Got it splayed back to right there. And then the other side did the same thing. Use the scissors, splayed it back to about where that bend's at. Now I'll slide the rod in there. There we go, doing the same thing. Got the bow laid on there. We'll splay it back on both sides to where that curve starts to flatten out. And then we'll slide the bow in there. This is a very back one. And then we'll get the second to back one. All right, there we are. We got it in there. Now we'll do the second to last one. Yeah, we got the second to last one, technically last one in. Just kind of working my way back toward the middle. So now we got all the bows in there. Now we're gonna take it in and set it in the car, and then we're gonna probably start in the center and start snapping it up, and then work toward the front and the back. Like what I'm gonna do before I throw this up in the car is I'm gonna measure and find the center of this center bow. I'm gonna make a mark so then I know where I'm snapping that in to get it started. All right, there we go. It's got the tape measure just laid out here. Let's see what we got. All right, 53 3/4. All right, half of that's gonna be 26 7/8. So I'm gonna make a mark there. There we go. We got our mark right there. So that is the center of that center bow. All right, just got done sweating like a maniac trying to get this thing hung in here. So you can see I got it hung in the center. There she is. And so what I did was I snapped the first or the middle bow in. You can see my center mark right there. I just centered it up on the center brace in the roof. So it seems pretty even on both sides. And now what we'll do is kind of work front and back. It's a little bit of work getting them to pop into those brackets, but just take your time, be patient. All right, got the first front two clipped in there. So here's what she's looking like now. That's she looks. So now we're gonna come back here and hit the back two. All right, now I got them all in. We got all the bows in the clips. Now we got to get them in the edges. Be the kind of the next step. If you could see up here, they're just hanging out. Now it'll be to pop these in. All right, now we're gonna try and snap these bows in. Pull the headliner back. You can see we got 3 holes up there. We're gonna try and find the best one for each bow and see how it starts to look here. So I'm gonna try and snap that in. There we go, got that one in. Now we'll go to the other side, hit the middle one. Be careful, just smash your fingers. All right, so yesterday evening ended abruptly. I believe the last video clip I left off on was I clipped this headliner bow, and I said, watch out, don't smash your fingers. And then the very next side, before I got to video again, I lacerated the heck out of my finger. So I went to put that bow in the other side. It's just super tight putting them in that way. So I got to revamp how I'm doing it. But yeah, I cut that thing really, really good. So I've got it steri stripped up and splinted. Got a splint on the back side. I was bleeding everywhere. So it's the next day, back the next evening, 24 hours later basically from when I did that yesterday. And so I was gonna jump in here and just take a quick peek. It's kind of rainy today, so I don't know if I'll be able to do much. But in my head, I wanted to just kind of see what this looked like, because yeah, doing it that way was too dangerous. I slipped. What happened was my hand slipped while I was trying to push the bow up, and this edging here is razor sharp like a knife's edge. So I don't know if you can see it right here. This stuff, it's where the headliner glues, and then there's a trim piece that goes on there. But when I was trying to push that bow up, my hand slipped and it basically sliced my finger like a knife on that. So that was fun. I was bleeding everywhere. But all right, back at it. I'm gonna see if I can take the first two bows down and kind of approach it a little bit different here. All right, I got this side in. This is the second bow. So there's the center one where I centered it up, and then the next one worked toward the front. I'm gonna try and get this in each side first, and then pop it in the center clip. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully I don't wrestle it as much as I did, because I've got not all my fingers working. All right, let it wrestle that a little bit. But I put it in the bottom hole. Try to get in the second one, but it was really pressing up against the roof deck a lot. So I dropped it down to that bottom hole out of the three over there. This seems to fit pretty good. Kind of floats a little bit right there, but that bow's in. So I think we just kind of keep working that way. All right, got that one in. This is all the way toward the front, right before you get to the windshield. So yeah, that worked out pretty good. And we can kind of see what it's looking like now going back. So I just got to pull those back ones out and then do the same thing. So you don't clip it in the center clip first. You want to go each side of the bow into the holes on each side, then snap into the center clip. Order of operations is important for safety. All right, I'm going to back the car now. Pull these two down off these clips. Now I've got both sides in. Did that first. It really gives you the ability to kind of manipulate the bows a lot better than if you do the center clip first. So let's get this last one in here. And there we have it. Got the last one in. Goes into that little metal trim. Basically cut my hand yesterday. And that one. And then we got it in the center clip right there. And not much of a gap before you get back to the windshield. So now when we get underneath of it here, it's kind of how we're looking. All right, Dan and I are out here now. Day technically 3 on this thing. And we're going to start gluing here across the front. We're going to do the front and the back, and then we'll start working the sides. So we got some Landau glue right there. There's Dan ready to go. So let's see how this goes. All right, got a little bit of glue going. So basically I took a fabric marker, you see the little blue marks, and kind of dotted about where that lined up with up here right in the front around where that rear mirror is going to go. So I applied glue too on the front edge here. You can't really tell because it's all got old glue on there too, but that's fine. So I'm just letting this set up, tack up a little bit, and then we'll start stretching. It's pretty warm out today, so it's actually going to work to our advantage, I think, with this adhesive. Kind of get the solvents out of it pretty quick. Dan got his fan going in the trunk. Thank you. And then here we are kind of working our way across. So you can see I tagged the front, maybe like 8 inches across in the front. And then now I'm just kind of working off to this side. So you see on the material I got some glue, and I got glue up there. Now I'm just letting it flash again, and then we'll pull on that and then stick it down. The heat's kind of working to our advantage too, because the material's pretty soft. That's why I want to get it kind of pre-hung and sitting and hanging in here, and not fresh out of the box when we get to this stage. All right, got that passenger side front stuck up there. So now we can kind of slide back here. There we go. You can kind of see it coming together. Got it pulled pretty good front. So now we're working this driver's side. I'll show you back behind there. Kind of what's looking like glue-wise. Alright, we got this thing glued pretty much all the way, maybe like 3 inches or so is not glued down there. And then we're just kind of pulling it and marking it with that water-soluble fabric pen, so we know where to put the glue, and about 1.5 inches of glue or so. So you can pull a little bit get it covered. All right, Dan's got this back kind of started here. We'll show you what we got. So you can't hardly tell again, but he's got probably about 8 inches or so glued on this back rail, and then on the back of the material you can see his little mark, and we know we're going to stretch, so we went up from that. And then got about, that's about 2-inch brush width. It's about 2 inches wide on the glue there. We said we just didn't want to get any glue on the front edge here because you don't want the material lipping up and then sticking up there. You want it kind of floating straight back. So just keep that in mind. Gluing away. Alright, we got the back kind of set up here. So kind of look right along the edge there. Yeah. We were just talking about next step really back here is we'll trim that off, but we don't want to do it yet because we want to make sure everything's tacked up real nice. We don't need to make any adjustments as we go around the side. But things are looking pretty good front to back.
Time to do the sides.
Time to get on the sides. Alright, we're working on the side right now. So what we got is we're on the passenger side, and you can see where we got it glued right now. Got a nice little strip going. And then what we'll do is, yeah, with it being so warm, this is working out really good. We're just going to start working this thing down, probably go the first 3 listings, go a little bit forward to the front listing, and just a little bit behind the 3rd listing. And then we'll just kind of not overwork it, and then get that stuck down. And then we'll probably flip over to the other side, get the other side kind of done so it's kind of evens things out. And then we'll start working them back quarters. That's where things get a little tricky, and then we'll get to front corners. So that's kind of the approach right now. So yeah, I'll just grab right here at the listings, and I'm gonna pull that one a little tighter right there, and I'll see what this one's looking like. Before I stick it down, I'm just kind of seeing how tight I need to pull it. Alright, so this one feels pretty good right there. Maybe someone hit it right on the edge. Then I'll work forward, hit this one right on the edge.
It's looking good.
Then come back and hit this one. Alright, Dan's over on this side. We just noticed that we got less overhang over here, but we got plenty of material still. So what Dan's doing is just using that fabric marker, just giving us an edge about where that's going to naturally fall, so he knows where to start gluing. And then he's going to start gluing the metal, then the fabric, and we'll let her set up. Alright, working this back quarter now on the passenger side. So you can see up here, I got the track all glued. And then there's the back side of the material comes on back. So we're going to try and stick this down. This is definitely where it gets a little tricky. We're going to go between here and here and try and work this thing down. And how far down are we coming? Right about in here. Too far.
That looks good. Good, Adam.
Not too bad.
No, not bad at all.
That steam might loosen some of this up back here. And then where do we go with it? We can probably glue this corner back here to kind of hold all that nice and tight like that.
That's
not too shabby.
Yeah.
There we go, little relief cuts in there. bit. Alright, back corner on passenger side. It's looking pretty good. A little steam and some time. It'll, I think, take nice shape back here. And then now we're just finishing off this side. We got up at the passenger side A-pillar basically at the windshield. So we got the metal glued and we got the fabric glued. We're just kind of letting that set up a little more. You really don't want it sticky when you're going to put it on. You want all that solvent pretty much come out of it. So we're just letting that dry a little bit more. Alright, I was helping Dan with it. I should have videoed him doing it, but I gave him extra hand. We got his back corner done. Looking pretty good. So there's a little bit of wrinkle going on right there. Same with mine. I think once we steam that up and then get some heat in it and it sits for a little while, I think that's all going to come out and look real nice. So I started just going around trimming the excess off, and we got our edge molding ready to go. It pinches this on all the way around pretty much the perimeter. So Dan's up here working now the front corner on his side. I got my front corner done over here. See the little white marking? That's where the sun visor goes to. So just kind of marked it with some fabric paint, or fabric marker, so we know where that's at. So I'm just going to kind of start coming around and trimming about 1/2 inch away all the way around, and that way we can pinch that material up with that trim. Alright, we got the bulk of this headliner in.
Yeah.
So there we go. And we just gotta put the sail panels in back here on the sides, and then we'll put the trim in, and then we'll give it a good steam bath. And now we're putting the sail panels in. So on this edge right behind the rear quarter glass, you can see where the old cardboard was glued to it. So that's what it lines up to be, is this leading edge of the cardboard is just going to marry up right on this metal here, and then it'll sandwich in with the trim once we get the trim in. So I'm just going to come right up to there, and then we're going to get this front edge here loaded up with glue. So 1/2 inch back, so just like that. And then we're going to get this back edge too. Little glue on there, and again on the cardboard. Alright, here we go. Slide this one back in here. Alright, I'm going to try and get this cardboard edge kind of right up on here. It's really on the layout about right there. So it's still putting that really high. There we go. It fell right down in there, Dan.
Okay.
Right about where it needs to be back here. Now up here on this front edge, it's feeling pretty good. Can't tell where I'm at right there. Gotta go up right there a little bit. Alright, so I'll stick this back here. Alright, I got the back stuck. I'll come up here and hit this front edge. Nice. I like that's gonna work, Dan. Alright, let's try and get that seated back here. I'm gonna get this kind of brought forward. And let's see where that's laying. Okay, we're laying really good. So the cardboard's hitting just like to the inside of the lip there. And we're sitting pretty good along here.
It looks good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and stick this front now. Do it in reverse order this time. I don't know if it matters. And then I'll come back to the back. Hit that. push the material up to the channel. There we go, Dan.
Looks good, Adam.
I think we got it. Now we just kind of come around, trim it back, then we can start wrestling this trim pieces on.
Yeah.
Alright, we wrestled the sail panels in. These are PUI. You can see where they're kind of wrinkly. They use like pretty crappy glue on these things. I should have just made them myself. They'd have turned out better looking, but we're going to roll with it. It's old drag and drive car. Putting in the rear window trim. It's like a rubber trim. Goes around here. Kind of puckered up right now, but I think the heat will kind of settle it down.
Yeah, I think it will.
But it pinches on there, man. That is tough stuff to do. Wearing us out. All right, we got it in. We just haven't steamed yet, but we got the visors in. So them are the original visors. We just popped them back in, got the rear view mirror in. So obviously we had the dome light in a little bit ago. And then we got all the trim in, all around the doors and windows. On the front. Sometimes you gotta manipulate that trim. We had to open it up with a screwdriver a little bit in some areas where it's too tight. Then we had to squeeze it down with some pliers in a few areas where it's too loose. So just kind of play with that. But yeah, pretty happy with how this thing turned out. Like I said, we're gonna go steam it. Alright, we got the steamer going. So we're going to get in there and kind of run that along. It'll kind of help that material just kind of relax and loosen up and fit where it's going to fit. So let's get in here, especially these back corners. Let's do some steaming. Yeah, look at that. Alright, she's good enough for today. Got her in. Just sitting in here with some heat in it. It should start relaxing even a little bit more. She's looking pretty good.